Hiya and welcome to our second Tesco Community Cooks cookery lesson. Today we are going to be learning how to make fish cakes with a crunchy vegetable slaw. And if you've got any leftover mashed potato and a tin of tuna or fish, you will be amazed at how quick and easy it is to turn this into delicious fish cakes. So before we start, we'll just go through a quick run through of the ingredients for the recipe. Right, so for the ingredients for today's recipe, I'm doing pink salmon fish cakes. Tinned salmon is perfectly good for this. You can use other oily fish. Personally today I'm using the free from flour just to demonstrate that it can be done for somebody with a gluten allergy. Then we have peas, lemon, potatoes, an egg, olive oil, yogurt, apple. I've got some flat leaf parsley there to add to my coleslaw and the fish cakes. You don't have to use those, but it just gives it a bit of a nice flavour. As you can see, I've been to the reduced shelf again. I've got a nice reduced cost onion, and the equipment that we'll need is colander, frying pan, box grater, can opener, masher, fish slice, a couple of bowls and some measuring spoons. We also have a pan of hot water ready to go for the potatoes, but just for speed we've put that on to heat up already. So I've already washed my hands ready to start cooking, so that's always the first very important step before you start cooking. Hand hygiene is all important. You may be able to hear some bubbling going on in the background. That's our saucepan of water ready for the potatoes, which we're going to start with now. And we've got our damp cloth down ready to put our board on top of to keep it still. You can use a tea towel to do this as well. It just helps to keep the board stable. So we're going to start off with peeling our potatoes, and we'll do one for the film and then we'll fast forward it. I'll just peel the skin of the potatoes, and of course wash your vegetables before you start to prepare them. Any veg. Not with soap, just under running water. It affects the taste if you add soap to the water to wash them. So that's our first potato peeled. So we've peeled all of our potatoes. We'll just get rid of the peelings. And these will go onto the compost heap later. Take our potatoes again. And just remember the bridge, sorry, get that right. Using your hands as a bridge, just cut the potato in half. So you've got a nice flat surface. I'll just quickly do all three of those. Ready. And then what we're going to aim for here is evenly sized chunks, although I'm not that great at getting evenly sized chunks myself, but roughly evenly sized chunks so that they cook evenly. And the best type of potatoes to use for this are the floury type of potatoes, like the Maris Vipers and things like that, because they mash really well. So I've now cubed all of my potatoes, and I'm just going to put them in my colander just to give them a quick rinse off under the tap, because sometimes they can be a bit starchy. Any potato will work with this, but it's best to avoid any of the waxy type of potatoes because they tend to not mash very well, and we want a nice mash for this. So I'm just going to go and rinse these off under the tap and then put them into the saucepan to cook. Okay, so our water's boiling away nicely here for our potatoes, and I've just rinsed them off just to get rid of any excess starch. So I'm just going to very carefully place those in without splashing too much. Pop the lid back on, and they should take about 10 to 12 minutes to cook. Okay, so we're now going to just open and drain our salmon and remove any bits of skin or bone that's in there. You don't have to use salmon, you can use tuna, mackerel, any type of oily fish. You can even use cooked whitefish if you prefer that. So if you have any leftover fish, so I'm just going to put that in there. Put that to the side for now. Just get my fork and just flake it a little bit. Get the bones out. There's a couple of bits of skin in here. I mean, if you like the skin, you can leave it in, but I'm just not a big fan of it, so. Okay, so we've taken all of the skin out, or as much of the skin as I can get. There's some tiny little bits in there, but that's not going to be a problem. And also the bone. So we've got some salmon all ready to go when we're ready for it. So now we're just going to prep our parsley. Half of this is going to go in the fish cakes and the other half will go in the coleslaw. So we just need to just go through, just pick the leaves off real quick. Again, you're not going to watch me doing the whole of this because there's nothing more boring than watching somebody pick leaves off or something. But you just want to get the leaves off so that you're leaving this stalky bit, because the stalky bit's not that great to eat. Fit through there, so I'll have to take a big hole. Oh, it does. Okay. So that's all of my parsley de-stalked, pretty much. I'm just going to pause there for a second to add my peas to the potatoes so that they can cook whilst the potatoes are finishing off. I'm just going to check how far along the potatoes are. A good way to check is just to take a knife and push it into the potato. If it comes out clean, then the potatoes, or if it comes out easily, sorry, the potatoes are cooked. They're almost there, they just need a little bit longer. So this is the ideal time to add your peas to get them cooked as well. So just pop those in, put the lid back on and go back to chopping parsley. Okay, so now we'll get back to chopping our parsley. Again, keeping your fingers well out of the way. We're just going to quickly go through it. Make them slightly smaller to start with, and then we'll do a bit of cross chopping to make them even finer. Keeping your fingers moving back the whole time to avoid any injuries. And just scrape them all together. And just using the knife, letting the knife do the work. Just moving that into the centre. And again, you don't have to just use parsley, there's loads of different herbs you can use. Chives works well. Coriander. All kinds of herbs can go in here, but parsley tends to go with fish. So that's all our parsley chopped. You could keep going for ages doing that, couldn't you? Again, just being careful of the edge of the blade. I'm just going to pop those in this bowl over here. Okay, and then I'll give my board another wash off before we start the next phase. Right, so our potatoes and our peas have finished off cooking. Because we cut the potatoes fairly small, they only needed 10-12 minutes cooking time, so that's great. So we're just going to drain them off very quickly. My glasses have just steamed up. And then just drain them off, and then we're just going to pop them back in to the pan. Pop the lid on. Just leave them there to steam off a little bit, steam dry a little bit. Okay, so our potatoes and peas have had a couple of minutes just sitting in the saucepan to dry off a little bit, and then we're just going to mash them together, peas and the potatoes together. Because we want fairly firm mash, we're not adding any butter or milk or anything to this, because we need the potatoes to hold their shape. So we're not looking for super creamy mash while we're doing this. Pea and potato mash. And then what we're going to do is we're going to just spread it around the side of the saucepan to cool it down. Helps speed the cooling down process a little bit, because we will be adding an egg to this at some point when we mix everything together. So we'll just spread it around like that so it cools down quicker. I mean, if you've got enough bowls, you could put it into a bowl and put it into a cold bowl and do this and let it cool down that way. So we'll just let that cool off somehow. So while we're waiting for the potato and pea mixture to cool down a little bit, we'll start getting some of the vegetables ready for the coleslaw. So I'm just going to peel my carrot. I picked a nice big carrot, then I won't grate my fingers while I'm grating it. I'm not safe with some of these tools, as we know. That looks a bit sad at the end, so I'm going to cut quite a bit of that off. I've still got plenty of carrot there for us. So that's our carrot ready to go. And we're just going to peel our onion. Again, putting all my peelings and stuff. Oh, this is a tricky onion. In the bowl to go on compost so we don't waste anything. My goodness, this is a really tricky onion. It doesn't want to. So that's the skin off of the onion. Okay, and then the onion will be chopped shortly, so I'm just going to cut that in half so we've got our flat surface ready to do that. And I will core my apple. So again, wash before use. Just take the centre out of the apple. See, the curly bit on the potato peel is quite good for doing this. Curly bit, curly bit. Very middle out, and then those will be grated shortly, but we're going to go back and check on our potatoes now, see if they've cooled down enough to do the next step with that. Okay. So we're now going to put our cooled potato mixture in a bowl, ready to get everything combined. And then to that I'm going to add a tablespoon of flour, and I'm using it's plain flour. Again, I'm just using the free from because it just shows that you can do it with free from flour. And our tinned salmon. That's all going to go in together. Mix around, just get the flour mixed in, and then we're going to add our egg. So just move that to one side for a second. And just crack the egg into the bowl. Again, the eggshell can go into the composty bits, I think. I will ask my compost expert whether that's true or not. And then I'm just whisking it up, beating it together with a fork. It all mixed together. And I'm just going to pour that in. Through a fork across the kitchen, that's good. And half of our herbs, our parsley that we chopped earlier, in there as well. That's about half. Just mix it all really well together. I'm missing the bits at the bottom. So that's our fish cake mixture. So it's quite a substantial amount actually. And then what we're going to do is form those into our fish cakes. Wipe the board off. Parsley gets everywhere. Dry my hands off. And of course, don't forget to wash your hands between handling ingredients. That's important, especially if you're moving from meat to vegetables, etc. Things like that. Let it dry off. And I'm just going to dust our work surface with a little bit of flour just to stop it all sticking. Forget flour on the spoon. Pop this straight out onto the worktop. Like so. And then we need to divide this into 8. I think the easiest way to do that is to grab a knife and just wash my hands. Those in half should give us 8. I couldn't find a knife, that's why I'm using this. So that's roughly 8 equal sized pieces, and then we're just going to spread them a little bit. Okay, so we've got our 8 portions, so we're just going to shape them into a circle, flatten them down slightly. We want them about 2 centimetres thick, and then we'll just slide that off there and onto our prepared baking sheet. So that's just a baking tray with some greaseproof paper on the top. I'll just pop these on here, not going too thin. Okay, so we've just had a quick tidy up session and got some of the pots and pans cleaned up from doing the fish cake part of it. So while they're chilling, I think I said chill them for 10 minutes, I think it's actually, you should actually chill them for 30 minutes. That's fine, so it takes about that long to get the rest of this stuff done. So we're going to go back to our bits of veg that we started to prepare earlier. So we're going to first of all, we've peeled and topped and tailed the carrots. So we're just going to use our box grater and grate that into the bowl. That's our carrot grated, and then we're going to do exactly the same with the apple. Just keep an eye in case you missed any pips, as I just said. Okay, don't forget to concentrate on what you're doing. And just tap the grater to get the rest of it out. Just put that to the side there. I'm just going to double check I haven't got any pips in there. No, it's all good. I'm just going to mix that up with my hands a little bit because apple has got a tendency to go brown very quickly. So I'm hoping that the carrot juices will prevent that. Okay, so I'm just going to pop that to the side while we do the onion, again using the bridge. Okay, so I'm just finely roughly chopping the onion. I've left the root end on there just to hold the whole thing together. So we've sliced it one way now, and just helps to hold it together. So using the claw again. And I'm going to be adding some lemon juice very shortly to the apple and carrot mixture, which again will help prevent the apple browning. So the onion's now gone into the bowl with the carrot and the apple. And then we're going to do exactly the same with our cabbage. Okay, so we're now going to do the same, shred up our cabbage. I've used a red and a white cabbage. You can use both or either or. The recipe calls for about 200 grams of cabbage. And if cabbage isn't your thing, you can also use any crunchy vegetable like radishes or celery or fennel. So I'm going to use about a quarter of each of these, and then we'll use the rest of it in something else. Quarter of my red cabbage. Just put that over there. And more white cabbage. And again, wash the fruit, wash the vegetables prior to using them. So we're now going to just shred this using our claw. I think I need to get this knife sharpened. Actually, I'm just going to take that stalky bit off. I don't like that. Again, it's your personal choice as to how finely your coarsely you like this chopped. I'm just going to this is. And then again, just using that rock chop. Scoop that up, put that in there. And then we're going to do exactly the same thing with the red cabbage. Still keep it off. That's the rock chop. Just to get things nice and fine. Just bring that forward so you can see it now. So we've got the white and the purple from the cabbage, the red, orange from the carrot. So we're getting a lovely mix of colours in there. Just go rinse my fingers. Okay, so the rest of our flat leaf parsley is now going in to there as well. So now I'm ready to yet another colour, some green in there. And then we're just going to pop that to one side and start making our dressing, which is natural yoghurt, olive oil and a lemon. You can add mustard to this if you want to. I don't particularly like mustard, so I'm not planning to do that. I'm just going to clear this out of the way. Should have done. Okay, so we're just going to make the dressing for the coleslaw now. So we need 2 tablespoons of olive oil. There's one. 2. And olive oil is a healthy fat to have in your diet, so it's good. And then it is 4 tablespoons of natural yoghurt. And this is not quite a tablespoon, so I'm going to do, it's about 1 tablespoon. 2, 3, 4, around about 4 tablespoons in there. Okay, so we've got our oil and our yoghurt, and we're just going to add half the juice of half a lemon. Squeeze that all in there. That's our dressing for our slaw. Just gonna add a little bit of salt and pepper to taste. It's the first bit of salt we've used for the entire recipe. Salt is good. A little bit of salt in your diet is good. Too much is bad. So that's all mixed in. I'm just going to tip that on there. Scrape it all out, so we don't like waste. And then just stir it into our vegetables. Okay, lovely colours in there. Okay, so our fish cakes have been chilling for a while now in the fridge, and we're just heating up the olive oil in the pan. It can get very hot very quickly. Just turn that down a tad. So we're now going to cook them. I'm just going to cook one for you for the purposes of this video. A portion size is 2, so 2 per person. So we're just going to pop that in there. Into the olive oil. I hope it won't stick. Okay. Ideally cook for about 3 to 4 minutes on either side. Oh yeah, and obviously be careful, we are dealing with oil and frying pan, and oil can get very hot when it's heated, so just be very aware of that, that it may spit at you as well. You might have heard this sizzling as I put it in, so. Just turn that over. Yeah, I've turned that over too early, really. lesson learned. Cooking needs patience. So we're aiming for this kind of colour. That lovely golden brown at the end, but all over, not just from the edges. And obviously you don't want it too hot because then the middle won't get heated up properly and the outside will burn and it just won't taste nice. So you could easily fit 2 at a time in here, perhaps even 3 at a time if you're cooking all of them at once, but just for this demonstration we'll just cook with one. We're using the olive oil, which is that's the colour we're looking for. That's the kind of nice colour that we're looking for. I'm just going to let the other side get to that kind of colour and then we will serve it up. Just remember to let your pan cool down thoroughly before you start washing it up, because that could also cause you to burn yourself. And like I said at the beginning, this is an easy meal to make if you've got any leftover mashed potato that you want to use up. Most of us have got frozen peas in the freezer, and tinned fish. Some of the tinned fish is really reasonably priced. I think the tuna in Tesco at the moment they've got some in there that's very cheap. And you're getting your carbs, your oily fish into your diet, obviously your vegetables, some healthy fat and protein from the fish and from the egg. So there we go. I think let's just be, yeah, I'm going to stop it cooking there and then we'll take it over and serve it up.